It is a myth. Babies do not slow down or run out of room at the end of pregnancy. They are getting bigger each day, of course. That's the goal. And
Yes.
so the types of movements that you feel, those may change.
Yes.
You may feel more jabs and pokes as you go along and fewer big like rolls or swishes. But babies should continue to move up to and during labor. They should never stop moving.
You're listening to the Mommy Labor Nurse podcast, where you'll gain the tools, knowledge, and confidence you need to erase the unknowns, feel in control, and have an even better birth, no matter how you deliver. My name is Liesl Teen, mom of two, practicing labor and delivery nurse, and your host. From over 8 years and counting of working at the bedside, I know that knowledge is the key to an even better birth. So tune in each week to learn about all things pregnancy, birth, and postpartum from me, a labor and delivery nurse that's seen it all. And now let's get into this week's episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Mommy Labor Nurse podcast. Today, we are diving deep into the world of baby movement during pregnancy with my special guest, Kimberly Isburg, from one of my favorite organizations, Count the Kicks. Kimberly is a passionate advocate for maternal health causes and is honored to work for an organization that is dedicated to improving birth outcomes and saving the lives of moms and babies. And inside today's interview, I will be exploring crucial aspects of kick counting during pregnancy with Kimberly. She'll be sharing her insights on the importance of kick counting, dispelling myths surrounding fetal movement, providing valuable tips for expectant mothers, and more. And after this episode, you can continue to learn about what you can do to help prevent stillbirth in episode 127, Stillbirth Prevention Tips. But now, are you ready to unravel the myths and realities of kick counting? I am. So let's do it. Hi, Kimberly. Welcome to the Mommy Labor Nurse podcast. Thank you so much for being here today with me.
Hi, Liesl. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. This is such a powerful episode that we're about to record together because it's such important information to dispel and just get out there. So I'm really, really excited to have you on. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and this amazing organization, Count the Kicks?
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Kimberly Isburg, and I am the communications manager for Healthy Birthday Inc., which is the nonprofit that created the Count the Kicks program. I have been with Count the Kicks and Healthy Birthday for about 4 years now, doing a variety of communications. I am a mom and I have two boys that are currently 7 and 9. And I really love my job because it combines my experience with journalism and marketing with my passion for educating and empowering expectant parents. Count the Kicks is, again, the program of Healthy Birthday Inc., and it started in Iowa in 2008. It was created by 5 central Iowa women who all lost daughters to stillbirth or infant death in the early 2000s. And after coming together, being connected through friends and family, they really decided that they wanted to channel their grief into efforts to prevent stillbirth from happening to other families. And so they learned about some research from Norway that showed a 30% reduction in stillbirth when moms were educated about paying attention to their baby's movements.
Yeah.
And they decided they wanted to bring it to the US and create a mom-focused campaign that would be educational and empowering and could help to improve birth outcomes here.
Hey, I love it. I'm all for it. Well, I know I've talked a little bit about kick counting on the podcast before, but for maybe those listeners who haven't heard that episode, aren't really even familiar with kick counting, maybe they're early in their pregnancies, can you talk a little bit about that and what it is, why it's important during pregnancy, and like if you have any stats related to, I know you just talked a little bit about it, but related to the difference that kick counting actually can make on pregnancy outcomes?
Yeah, absolutely. So kick counting is really just the practice of becoming familiar with your baby's normal movement patterns. Every baby, every pregnancy are different. So the key is really just getting to know what is normal for your baby. And that's what Count the Kicks can help you do. You're not just counting kicks, but any types of movement. So pokes, jabs, rolls. The only things that really don't count are hiccups because those are involuntary. And research shows that this is important because a change in a baby's movements is sometimes the first or only sign that they may be in distress, that there may be an issue with your pregnancy. And if your baby's movement changes, that's really an indication that you and your baby should be checked by a healthcare provider right
Yeah.
away. We do have some research on Count the Kicks that was published in BJAG earlier this year, which is an international journal of obstetrics and gynecology.
Mhm.
And that showed more than 30% reduction in Iowa's stillbirth rate in the first 10 years of our program here in Iowa. In
That's
addition to
amazing.
that, we have more than 120 stories on our website from families around the country who reached out to share how counting the kicks helped their baby have a safe and healthy arrival.
Yeah, that's amazing. It really does make a difference. That's why we are here. So how do you actually perform this kick counting? It can be a little bit confusing because I know at least the OB office that I went to, they have a standard, but I've seen a lot of different standard practices surrounding kick counting. So can you talk a little bit about that, what the current recommendations are, maybe just, walk us through the process of actually counting kicks and maybe some tips for getting accurate counting?
Absolutely. So yeah, when you go to your provider, you may just hear like, is your baby moving?
Yeah.
And that's not really the most helpful question, I guess, or the easiest way to get a sense of your baby's movement patterns and what's normal. ACOG recommends that expectant parents start tracking movement at 28 weeks or 26 weeks if they are experiencing a high-risk pregnancy or if you are pregnant with multiples.
Mhm.
The reason for this timing is just that this is the time in most pregnancies when babies get into kind of a recognizable pattern of movement. So that's when the recommendation is to start tracking movement.
Yeah.
Using Count the Kicks, that really makes it easy. We have a free app that is available in 16 languages that you can use to count your baby's movements every day. But you can also print out a paper chart from our website, or we also have a web-based counting platform. However you want to count, you're going to want to do it once a day, around the same time every day, and try to pick a time when your baby is normally active. So really, those are the three keys. If you notice that your baby is always active after dinner and you're sitting on the couch, that's a great time to
Mhm.
pull out your phone, start a timer on your phone or your watch, and do your kick count for that day. If you're using the app, you're going to open it up, you're going to click Start Counting. Right there on the home screen, you're going to select whether you're counting for one baby or two. And then there's like a blue footprint in the middle of the screen. You're just going to tap that every time you feel your baby move. And that's going to start a timer. And that timer is going to run until you feel 10 movements, until you tap it 10 times. And the timer will stop. And the next step is to rate the strength of your baby's movements on a scale of 1 to 5.
Are you a third trimester mama that's wondering what you should actually be doing to get prepared for birth and baby? What if I told you I have a free third trimester prep pack to take the guesswork away? It's true. Inside of this jam-packed set of printable PDFs, you'll get instant access to our super popular hospital bag checklist, birth plan templates created by my team of L&D nurses, a third trimester to-do list with over 20 different things on it, my exclusive list of postpartum essentials, and more. It's an instant free pregnancy planner to get and keep you on track in your third trimester. To grab the third trimester prep pack for free, simply head over to mommylabornurse.com/third trimester. That's mommylabornurse.com/THIRD trimester for your free third trimester prep pack.
So again, research shows that the strength of your baby's movements are also an important indicator of their well-being. So one is going to be those light fluttery movements that maybe you might feel kind of early on. You're first noticing your baby starting to move.
Yeah.
And then 5 are those really big, strong kicks, movements, jabs, things that you might be able to see kind of like on the outside of your belly. So again, just rate the strength for that day, that session. There's a section to take notes if you want to, what you ate that day, questions you want to ask your provider, things you're thinking about while counting. And then Once you finish your session, after you count for a few days, you're going to start to see a graph kind of that shows each of your sessions and the average amount of time it takes to reach 10 movements, the average strength. And that's really what you're looking for, is when you're doing it the same time every day and looking at that history over time, you're going to get to see some patterns and get familiar with how long it normally takes your baby to move 10 times, what their normal strength is. And then if anything ever changes, you'll know that's when you need to speak up.
Yeah, I love that. So we're kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but we're kind of getting rid of that 10 movements in 2 hours, because that's still normal. That can be normal for some women, but it's not just about that anymore.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. The latest research has really moved away from the idea that expectant parents should expect a certain number of movements in a certain period of time, like 1 or 2 hours.
Yeah.
Again, the key is just really getting to know what's normal for your baby, because every baby, every pregnancy are different. And for my pregnancy and my baby, it could be 10 minutes. And for yours, it could be 20 or 30 or 40. But if my baby is moving 10 times in 10 minutes and one day it's taking 40 minutes, I know that that's a change. I know that that's different and not normal for my baby. And so that's a time when I need to call my provider, head to the hospital, and get checked.
Yeah, love it. Well, let's talk about some common myths. So there is a common myth out there that ruffles my feathers. I've definitely done posts on it before. But I've heard influencers even say that, oh, my baby's getting bigger in there. It's, she's not moving around as much. And it's like, no, that's such a myth. So can you dispel the common myth that babies move less as they get bigger because they run out of room, and just kind of shed some light on this misconception and explain the normal patterns, of fetal movement throughout pregnancy, basically that, hey, they still move throughout the whole pregnancy.
Yes, I can. It is a myth. Babies do not slow down or run out of room at the end of pregnancy. They are getting bigger each day, of course. That's the goal. And so the types of movements that you feel, those may change. You may feel more jabs and pokes as you go along and fewer big rolls or swishes. But babies should continue to move up to and during labor. They should never stop moving. And if you're counting your baby's movements around the same time every day, again, it should take about the same amount of time to feel 10 movements, no matter the type. And again, if you notice any changes, if you ever feel like your baby isn't moving at a time when they normally should be or would be, that is really important to go to the hospital and get checked right away.
Love it. So if you ever hear somebody too, anybody listening, if you ever hear somebody and later in their pregnancy and they're like, oh yeah, I'm not moving as much today, but I'm just because I'm getting bigger, you say, hey, actually, that's not true. You need to get that checked out if you really feel like your baby's not moving as much, because that is a myth. I heard it on the Mommy Labor Nurse podcast.
Absolutely. It takes all of us working together to dispel these myths and to get accurate information out there, and make sure that if someone has a concern about their baby's movement, we are encouraging them and empowering them to get checked out.
Yeah. Go get it checked out. It's never, that's what we're here for. The hospital's open 24/7. Your provider's office is open when it's open. We would rather you come in and get checked and just, it's a fluke, it's fine, than for you to sit at home and be worried and, if something were to happen. So don't feel like you're bothering anybody. If you feel like something's up with your baby, it's important to get it checked out.
Absolutely.
All right. The sound of that heartbeat means it's time for this week's segment of Birth It Up Babies. This one says, Liesl, I cannot thank you enough for the classes you put together. I just gave birth to my first, a little boy, and I was so incredibly confident the entire time, knowing what to expect, knowing terminology, and now postpartum, knowing what things should look like moving forward. Oh, that's so sweet. I truly don't think I would have survived labor without the knowledge your epidural class provided my husband and me. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, I always get I get chills from these messages, you guys. I'm so glad I can help. If you want to have an even better birth, just like this mama, head on over to mommylabernurse.com/courses to learn more about our 3 online on-demand birth classes. Well, let's talk about this other kind of myth around sugary cold drinks. So let's say I'm counting my kicks and my baby's not moving as much. I've heard providers say, oh, if that happens, drink something cold or drink some Mountain Dew. I've heard that. Drink some Mountain Dew, and that might help the baby move a little bit. So can you talk about that? Because that is definitely a myth.
Yes, we hear this advice so often. We hear expectant parents telling us that their doctor told them to do this or their friend told them to do this. The latest research really shows that kick counts, movements are best monitored without interventions like cold water, candy, and juice. Think about like if you were not feeling well, maybe you had a cold or the flu, you drink a glass of juice, it may hydrate you a little bit. It may give you a little burst of energy, but it isn't really going to fix the reason that you aren't feeling well. And it's not a long-term solution. So babies are like us and their movement changes when they aren't feeling well, when they aren't getting all the things that they need in the womb. So sugar can help them move. It can increase their movement for a short period of time, but it isn't going to fix whatever is really going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Well said. So what about this other common misconception? Because I've heard people say also that if my baby is having this really sudden wild surge of movement, or like all of a sudden is almost having like seizure movement in there, that might indicate baby is in distress. So can you elaborate, kind of clear that up a little bit as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's definitely research that shows that a surge of movement can sometimes be a sign of distress in a baby in a pregnancy. But really, the advice here is the same. If there's a change in what's normal for your baby, whether it is a decrease, a change in strength, or a rapid increase in movement, that is important to trust your instincts, to recognize that this is different from normal and that you should go to the hospital right away. Like you said, the hospitals are open 24/7. You can go directly to labor and delivery. There's often a triage, where you can get checked right away. They are there to help you, and they would much rather check and make sure that you and your baby are doing well than have something happen when you didn't come in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, any other misconceptions, myths surrounding kick counting, fetal movement that you've heard, frequently that you want to dispel?
Sure. So I think another one that we hear a lot is that kick counting will increase anxiety for expectant parents. And that's often a reason that, we hear that people don't want to talk about this with pregnant women. But what we hear from our app users is that the majority of them say that using our app daily, using the Count the Kicks program, help to reduce their anxiety about the well-being of their baby. So 77% of our app users report reduced anxiety when using the app. And also, this isn't necessarily myth, but just in addition to monitoring your baby's well-being by counting kicks every day using the app, it's a great way to bond with your baby and really get to know their personality while you're waiting for them to arrive. And a lot of our app users also report that the app helped them bond with their baby and feel more kind of in tune with their body and their baby. So another benefit of counting the kicks.
Love it. I'm all for some baby bonding pre-birth. I'm all for bonding after birth too, but anything you can do to connect with your baby. So that is amazing. Well, where can our listeners find you guys and find your app and your resources? Where are you guys at?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, we have an app. It is free in the iOS store and the Google Play App Store. It is available in 16 different languages, so you can count in any language you choose. We do have a link on our website to our app as well. It's countthekicks.org. We have a lot of additional educational information and resources there. We have an academy for expectant parents that just kind of talks through a lot of the things we shared today, but some additional information as well. And then, of course, we are on social media. So we love for you to follow us on your favorite social media platform for more education, more dispelling of myths. And we are on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter.
Those are all out there. I love it.
All right.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Kimberly, for coming on. This was such a great episode to put out to the public. I hope you guys, listeners, got a lot of great info here. And yeah, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, that was just a nice little informative episode. I'm glad that I could put that out there for you guys and have Kimberly come on. Next week on the podcast, we are going to be talking about pregnancy and postpartum anxiety, something that is near and dear to my heart because I have experienced it firsthand. And I know a lot of moms out there have as well. So I'm excited to put that one out for you guys. And yeah, see you guys next week. Already feeling a little more confident about pregnancy, birth, and newborn life? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can continue to erase the unknowns and never miss an episode. And if you're looking for even more, Instagram is definitely where I hang out the most. Come join our community of more than 500,000 moms for birth education, tips, and solidarity. You can find me at mommy.labornurse. Check out today's show notes and a searchable library of every Mommy Labor Nurse podcast episode at mommylabornurse.com/podcast. And while you're there, be sure to head to the blog to learn about our online birth classes too. See you next week. And remember, you can have an even better birth no matter how you deliver.